Well, it says green light. And we're live. Yeah, that's right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to, I think this is like the 5th political recap stream that I've done with Trups. Not yet. Where we've basically covered what has happened in both America and in the United Kingdom in politics. For the UK, I've only got one thing. It's not even a joke. It's not that it's been a light week. There have been things going on. It's just there's only one thing worth talking about. And Diskanar, you wrote Dragon Fist instead of Dragon Force. You brought it upon yourself. Trups has a host of articles for us to go through. Say hello, TrupsLP.
Hello, TrupsLP.
You're getting it now. Fantastic.
I'm learning.
And I think we'll start with one of your articles. I believe Yemen is first. Hang on,
yes.
I've got to open the article first because I've actually got like the wrong fucking tab open. There we go. Perfect. Go ahead.
So, on the 9th of August, the Saudis launched a U.S.-supplied Mark 84 missile at a school bus filled with 40 school children of their own countrymen, of their own country's children. And apparently 79 people were wounded, 56 being children.
Why? I have to ask the obvious question. Why? Why would they do...
So,
and before you do that, I do want to show a picture that Trups showed me just before we started. It's this. What is this picture of? The MK-82. Is this part of the bomb casing?
yes, I'm sorry, MK-82, not 84.
Yeah, I did.
It is basically their proof that it was the U.S.
that provided the
weapon. Yeah.
See, I don't understand. Okay, so we Brits, we provide military gear to countries that then use it against others. It's not our responsibility to dictate who they use it on. That's not a part of the contract. I get that if they do something we don't agree with, we should condemn it, of course. Of course, and I'm in full. I don't understand this, which is why I'm now going to let you go back to why. Why would they do this? Oh, echoing. Right, hang on. No, it's me. I've got to put earphones in. Thank you for pointing that out. Earphones. Go ahead. Why is this happening?
So, it was basically that the Saudis were trying to launch it at a separate thing, but they ended up hitting the school bus. The reason I had brought up the CNN article is because it kind of gives a little bit more understanding of that. But the reason I don't want him to show it on stream is because there are simply inappropriate pictures of the children who were wounded, and I found that to be distasteful to report on.
At this stream, we get flagged instantly, to be honest.
Well, yeah.
The more important why is why did they do this? What's the motivation for bombing your own people?
So they don't really have a good one. It was basically that they were trying to launch it at somebody else within their own country, and they hit the bus.
So what? Collateral damage at this point? How fucked is that?
That was basically it.
That's the same bollocks I heard. That's the same kind of bollocks I heard when part of the Grand Mosque in Riyadh, or is it Riyadh, Mecca, Riyadh, in Mecca, I think. Part of it collapsed and a load of people died, and they just fobbed it off. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. You've got to be able to understand that you can't make these kind of mistakes without there being some kind of accountability.
They said the Saudi ambassador to the UN, Abdullah Al something. Okay, never mind. Told the Security Council.
Hang on, I'm gonna find. Is this in the article? Yeah.
This is the CNN one.
Right, you keep going then.
It was a legitimate military action, and that the targeted Houthi, Houthi leaders were responsible for recruiting and training young children and sending them to battlefields. and so they bombed the bus apparently in lieu of that situation. And that's what they told.
Houthi is for those that don't know, is an insurgent movement in Yemen. Islamic religious political armed movement that emerged from Sadr in northern Yemen in the 90s. So I'm assuming this is who they were after.
Right. But they said it wasn't the children on the bus that was the target.
Obviously.
Which I found was absolutely bullshit, because the MK-82 is a laser-guided bomb.
Oh, you actually, right, you know some shit. Okay.
Well, it's said in the article I sent you at the very top.
Yeah. I will actually scroll to the top just to be safe. Yeah.
7-kilogram laser-guided bomb.
Here it is. Okay, so this is an obvious. Either they had some faulty intel, or they are lying.
I think they're lying.
Yeah, I can't see faulty intel being a good enough excuse. I'm sorry, but no. Not when you have some of the best military weapons. You'd think you'd have reasonably good intelligence agencies as well.
Unfortunately, both the UK and the US, our best customers are the Saudis when it comes to weapons.
Yeah, actually, this has come up in PMQs a number of times when, like, the Saudi prince, when he came to visit. He's known as more liberal of the family, and he's trying to reform Saudi Arabia to be more liberal, which is understandable because their current views do not align with the West, and they do most of their business with the West. It would make sense to try and adopt a more reasonable culture and give people a fair shot at things. Okay, he's not making as much headway as people want, and of course, in the world of politics and the impatient world of politics, because apparently they're separate, you want results like that. In PMQs, Jeremy Corbyn has criticised any meetings with anyone from the Saudis, from that particular region of the world, when it has, and unless the Prime Minister has openly said she has condemned things directly to him, to the Prince or to anyone else, Crown Prince, or to others that have represented them, because we do sell weapons to them, and those weapons are being used against people. Now, in this instance, with Yemen and with certain insurgent movements, it's a bit of a difficult one, because Corbyn is always arguing from the position of human rights, and there's nothing wrong with that, but he can't, because he's a pacifist, and he's an absolute pacifist, he cannot reason or rationalise any need for using military force against insurgent movements that would seek to harm the people if they were allowed to continue. If democracy has been exhausted, he still believes there's a democratic approach, and that's where he fails. I applaud his desire to help people, I really do, but this has come up in PMQs, and it just doesn't hold much weight. I don't think we should be held to any kind of guilt by association when, especially like this, it comes across as a lie, like they hit the bus and we don't know why though.
Right. And especially if you scroll down a little bit more to the paragraph that starts with the Bellingcat report caution.
Got it.
It basically states that the fragments had not been photographed where they fell, but rather that they were gathered together and then photographed.
Well, that's come on, Forensics 101. That should be in the place where it happened.
And have you noticed that the plate that I sent you the picture of?
We'll go back to that. Give me a second. Yep. That's now. Fine.
Have you noticed that you don't see scorch marks? You don't see blast.
You see little tear here and there, though, don't you? But that's about it.
It's remarkably clean.
It's torn. I don't know where that would be in position to where the blast is, and I don't know how the missile works to know if there will be a burn or a scorch.
Fin?
Does it have a propeller on it?
No, it's just to keep it aerodynamic.
Oh, it actually has fins. That might not have scorch marks then, to be honest. I don't actually know how the bomb works completely. I'd have to see one blow up to understand it better.
Yeah, it's pretty you imagine with 79 people get injured, that at least the bomb
Yeah,
itself would blow up,
yeah.
right?
I would also say that.
At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would, however, say not to be too ignorant. That any bomb that blows up, there should be some scorching on it, because obviously, come on, that considering how close that is to the device, it should but have some kind of burn or distortion from heat, perhaps. It's an exothermic reaction. It's gonna be quite hot, so it should have some warping. Yeah.
Yeah, any Jake, no fins are designed to be destroyed on impact. I agree, but I expect to see at least some form of blast
Oh,
on
blimey, the
this.
chat is active. I do apologise for not noticing. I was on a different tab. And Judge Kitty is not here at this present moment, and let's hope it stays that way. I'm looking
But
around.
I mean, it was just with Saudi Arabia, especially with the Cold War tactic that it was engaging with Canada recently,
Yeah.
with their extradition of their ambassador. I can't believe a thing that government says at the moment.
I'm still a little bit like a bit concerned, especially with that with the what was the picture they did, which had a plane that like it was flying into that thing in Toronto.
Oh, exactly. That was too dark to be taken lightly.
I know people give Trump shit on Twitter for the stuff he does, but come on, that was darker. Cthulhu and the Coon. Are we talking about Cartman's Coon or a different Coon?
I'm not a coon.
I'm reading the chat.
No, I see it. But that was more or less what I wanted to talk about on that. I wanted to bring attention to it.
That's actually really good. Actually, I hope. I mean, there is. Oh fuck it! Click on the right tabs. Yeah, close the wrong thing. That's fine. You just keep doing that. There's been a lot of sucking up to Saudi over the years, and if this happens too often, it shows a trend. And Saudi have been recently, they have been doing a little bit of shady shit in Yemen especially. So you do start to worry that perhaps they are crossing that line. I do like this little bit underneath. 115 billion in weapons in the course of its 2 4-year terms. Is that a lot in weapons? I don't know the pricing of, certain military weaponry.
It's a lot of them. Assuming that most of them were munitions and not vehicles, that is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A Tomahawk missile is like 110 million.
Mm-hmm. I like underneath here, right? You've got that the sale was halted of guided munition technology in 2016 after a bombing of a funeral hall that killed 155 people. So this is guided munition technology, is it not? This bomb, this MK82, it's guided. So this would have had to have been sold to them before 2016, yes? Oh, no, my mistake. It was reinstated in March 2017. They could have gotten it before, after. Okay, never mind. Carry on. What a mess. Tomahawks are 1.5 million. That's a lot of money for a missile, don't you think? Are you still there, Trups? Okay, I can't hear him. I'm moving on. Let's talk about Brexit. Yeah, let's do that. And to do that, first of all, we're going to go back to this. I can't hear Trups, so if he is here, I can't hear him. With Brexit, there's been a lot of scaremongery. And I know this because on my phone, I've had news app alerts for it. Today, No Deal Brexit was trending. It was trending because people are... And this pisses me off so much. Scaremongery is... It is a tactic for a loser. You have to be a loser to use it. If you want to be informed and you want to pass on accurate information, but you don't want to scare people, then do that. But if you want to sensationalize because you think it will get you extra views and maybe some credibility, while simultaneously scaring people in the process, which is not constructive at all, it's destructive, then put out all the articles you can on every available app, on every available platform, that basically says, no deal, no deal. Oh, your microphone died. Right.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Congratulations for...
My internet had completely died.
Oh, your internet died. Okay.
Oh, my Ethernet. You know how yours does?
Oh, well, mine's working at the moment, so we're okay.
Hey.
Hello, Foxy. How you doing?
Yes, I'm back now.
Yeah, right. So, Brexit. It is the running joke in UK politics. Scaremongery was the tactic of Remain. It didn't work. Scaremongery has yet again reared its ugly head because of the trending hashtag #NoDealBrexit, where there have been some documents that were released by Dominic Raab. The documents had within them a number of things that would happen, along with scenarios for what the government was doing to plan for no deal. These have been condemned by Wales's Labour government, Scotland, I'm sure others have as well, I just don't give a shit, where they've basically said, we have to take no deal off the table. Now, I can't be the only person that thinks this. If you have a card, a good one that stops you from being walked over to the point where you end up walking away with a bad deal, the best thing you can do is keep it close to your chest and not let go. Because you want to make sure that person knows if you don't get a good deal, you will walk away. No deal is unfortunately our only card. Because we have no others. People can say we do. Honestly, whoever it is saying that, you're lying. The no deal Brexit is the only card we have left that stops the EU from absolutely walking all over us. Although Theresa May is doing a fantastic job just bending over and spreading them to Michel Barnier anyway. And that's not a joke. We all know what the Chequers plan says. It ties us to the EU with no say on how they dictate rules that will affect us, that we have to obey. That bullshit needs to die. The Chequers plan has to go. I agree with Jacob Rees-Mogg on this. It is very much it's Brexit in name only, but Remain in everything else. It is an insult to the people, and it's an insult to democracy. At this point, I'm surprised Theresa May hasn't just airstriked all the areas where Brexit voters exist. Because let's face it, with democracy and her track record, when she doesn't get her own way, she just airstrikes on assumptions, thinking that'll get results. So, I should expect a bomb on my home anytime soon now? Stupid.
Well, she's not Saudi though, so.
True, but she's a feckless bitch. So, I'm gonna, okay, what did the paper reveal? No, I want to go down to this. I'm going to pull up a little passage from the Daily Mail. There are a couple of articles, some BBC and Guardian, and the ones I want to look at, I've got the BBC's reality check correspondent, Chris Morris's What Would a No Deal Look Like? And we're going to look at that, but also look at the Daily Mail's, which has the main points which are in the 25 documents that were issued today, and that's because I cannot for the life of me, because I was busy working on something else, be fucked to read all those documents. I read a couple and I got bored. And I'm a boring person, so come on, give me a break. Let's move here. Here we go. Right. I love the ads on the side. It just tells you what I've been looking at. Guitars. Okay, so
the other day I actually thought that when I was looking at the base, and it's all there now too.
Yeah. Okay, so among the main points in the 25 documents issued today are: British consumers could face increased costs and slower processing times for euro transactions, and the cost of card payments between the UK and EU will likely increase. More VAT could be charged on parcels coming to Britain from EU firms. As if I don't have enough to contend with additional customs charges, which is why, for those that are interested, I reset the Streamlabs goal and had to increase it so it's slightly higher than what I actually would go for, because I have to account for a customs charge I would get when I do eventually get the tentacle gloves. One day. Fingers crossed. I don't really take much issue with this because I kind of expected this additional charge part. It makes sense. You're not going to get flawless transactions. There's no denying that. So I don't know, it doesn't bother me as much as it should. Next, an extra 6 weeks of medicines will be stockpiled on top of the current level of 3 months to avoid any disruption. This one is in direct correlation with the infamous "we'll run out of food within 2 weeks." Okay. Should I now just start stockpiling tinned food? I will if I have to, but I don't really see the point.
Oh, you don't have a nuclear shelter yet?
I'm just not that gay.
Oh. A whole
We
bunch of
have a
Americans
town,
live that
we have a
life.
castle. If I have to go and hide somewhere, I'll go hide in that.
That's not lead-lined.
And it's all, yes, but the thing is, there's like fucking immensely thick stone. It's also round. So it's also round, so the devil can't get in and talk to me. Batch testing and EU certifications will also be recognised to reduce bureaucracy. Well, that would actually fall in line with us maintaining our standards in accordance with their standards and vice versa. Basically, we just bow to them on that, so that there is no issue. New picture warnings can be introduced on cigarette packs as the copyright for existing picture library is owned by the European Commission. Okay. These are main points of a 25 documents, okay? And I have to give a fuck about the fact that in our country, smoking packs, right? You know, I assume in your country you still have all the major labelling all over them, yeah? Like Marlboro, yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, well we don't. They're in plain packets with plain Times New Roman font. I wish it was Comic Sans because I think it's funnier. And then
I was gonna say that.
And then you have all the cancer warnings all over it, and then pictures of like the interior of someone smoking tar-filled lungs, or someone with a throat with a hole in it. You know, those are the warnings they use. Those pictures are copyright owned by the EU. Oh my god! Give them a strike. Flag their content. Okay. British firms are being urged to consider whether you would need advice from the Irish government about preparations you need to make in case of no deal. I just don't give a what is other than Jameson's. I just don't care. Maybe some potatoes, but only when they're really, really, really suffering. Organic food producers face a cliff edge of exporting to the EU only if certified by a body approved by the European Commission, with certification taking up to 9 months after Brexit. Well, we do have a transition period, but if there's no deal, yeah, could be interesting. The government will commit to underwrite EU funding for aid and other projects that could be withdrawn. That sounds like we're their bitch still then. Interesting to note, one of the articles that popped up on, I think it was my phone because my tablet was on charge. It was the scaremongery of how if we don't get a deal, and I can't remember this, I think it was The Independent, so this doesn't surprise me. If we don't have a deal, then what's going to happen is, we, on the day of D-Day, as some are calling it, we will officially become a third world country because we'll have no trade deals. That was what the article started with. I was like, you fucking what? We're not going to become a third world country, you absolute barnstorming twats.
And which news outlet was saying that you guys would become a third world country?
I think it was The Independent. I'm going to quickly tab to the main chat thing. I'll go and find it because I honestly it was there and it made me laugh so much. Britain.
It's just ironic because they wouldn't say that would happen to Sweden with the migrant crisis, but hey, look at that.
Okay, Britain will become a third world country. Britain will have to get used to life as a third world country. No, it was The Guardian.
Ah, perfect.
Okay. It says here, once upon a time there was a creature called Brussels that ate national sovereignty. This monster had a special hunger for Britishness, feasting on the independence of that nation, while its neighbours were mysteriously undiminished. Okay, here we are. On the 29th of March next year, Britain becomes what EU treaties define as a third country. Oh no, this is not the same article. No, but third country is interesting. I want the third world one. Where's the third world one? Where is it? Give it to me. I wish my phone news app hadn't reset earlier because it updated.
Sounds like a glitch in the Matrix.
It happens all the time. You just leave it. Oh, okay. No deal will be governments. No deal. No deal. No deal. No deal. I can't be bothered. Fuck it. Move on to the. We're going to move on to the reality check, because this is relevant. Before we do, actually, I do want to read the chat quick. I feel like the press is nothing but a load of chicken littles. Yep. The third world actually means a country that has no affiliation with America or Russia. That's interesting, because that's not what the Independent said, and I need to find the article now because that bugs me. I know it was them. So yeah. Right. Let's move on to this reality check. So, fuck off. No deal can be a confusing term in the Brexit debate because there are, in fact, several potential deals waiting to be done. The main ones are...
That doesn't make it note that... I hate that.
Yeah,
no deal can be confusing because there are others. No, fuck off. No deal's not confusing. It's just not the one you want, you shit.
The BBC isn't biased, everyone. Okay. The main ones are a withdrawal agreement, which needs to be finalised and ratified before the UK leaves the EU. At this point, it's unlikely. An EU agreement on what the future UK-EU relationship will look like. Unfortunately, we need the first really to get the second, and there aren't several potential deals waiting to be done. It's a case of deal, no deal, and if there's no deal, we'll just get Trump. It's fine. We'll sue the EU as well.
Don't use Cohen.
Yeah. Okay, so taken seriously, let's have a look. People praying for no deal at the moment, they mean the prospect of failing to reach an agreement on the terms of departure. Yeah, this is what is currently going on. In these article negotiations for the EU and the Brexit Secretary, no, fuck it. Move on to this bit here. Taken seriously. Okay, so this bugs me. Okay, so we had 2 years to negotiate this based on the Lisbon Treaty. I get it. But there's been so much dawdling that I don't see how any progress was made. But also the fact that there was no ground being given by the side of the EU. And that's not me being rude to them. They have shown they are unwilling to compromise or reform. And the compromise has been absolutely cemented by the fact that any time an idea was created by us, they just got rid of it. They're like, no, you obey our rules. That's it. That's not negotiating. That's pouty children sat at a table going, la 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 la, I can't hear you, la la la. That's not how you negotiate with anyone. And I think it's just reckless. With a no deal agreement, it would also mean there is no transition period after Brexit. I don't give a fuck about the transition period. I get why it has to happen if there's a deal reached. It makes sense. But I'm of the opinion, and it's starting to become more and more a cemented one, that we're going to instead have to postpone Brexit for a while so we can negotiate even more, to the point where I think Theresa will just be like, you know what would be easy? We could just stay. I mean, it's still Brexit, but we're in the EU. So no deal needs to be taken seriously. Right. Actually, and a little bit further down, we'll get to the World Trade Organization rules in a moment, because this is actually quite good. But here, the EU published a document on Thursday which warns that contingency planning should be stepped up in all countries and all sectors of the economy. Among other things, it said there will be no specific arrangement on the future rights of EU citizens in the UK and UK citizens in the EU. This has actually raised concerns for those that are expats that have pensions in this country, because they risk losing them based on what's currently going on. I might actually have that article up here somewhere. Nope. Where is it? No, that's the key point from it. I know I had it. Oh, fuck it. Ooh, never mind. Clearly it wasn't important enough.
Too many tabs.
Yeah. Border checks would have... Not as many as Monday Matt. Border checks would have to be reimposed, which I don't really give a fuck about, and transport between the UK and EU would be severely affected. Imagine my shock. This has been known about for a few months, actually, with... it was actually mentioned in PMQs that the Netherlands were training people up for border checks. The UK will become a third country, so maybe it was a typo in the Independent. which with substantially less access to the EU single market. Well, the intention of leaving the EU was to leave the single market. So, what are you trying to do? Slap a label on us? I just don't give a fuck.
Kind of like a no shit Sherlock kind of moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck off. Not you. EU. The UK's relationship with the EU would suddenly be governed not by the common rules and regulations that have been built up for more than 40 years, but by general international public law. I don't care. We voted leave, and those 40 years of rules and history needed to be reformed. At this point in time, do you know what you remind me of by being unwilling to reform, or modernise, or bend a little, be flexible, or at all do anything remotely modern? You remind me of Islam, except you don't have the killing yet. Give it time. Just wait to be outbred. It'll happen soon enough.
The sad thing is that's about all that's different.
Yeah. It's quite embarrassing, to be honest.
They've got the burqa argument happening already.
A tyrant. That is quite accurate, actually. And the EU army was touted, Michael Morris, very good point, was touted during the Brexit campaign, and the Remainers were like, no, it's not happening, and right after the vote, oh look, an EU army's happening. Look at that, that's new, it's shiny, no one told us about that. Dickheads. Yeah, and the current EU trade is less than 10% of our income. That is quite right. We're not the ones that suffer the most. We do suffer as far as import, but we can and have already got people saying, yeah, we'll do that. We'll sign these deals. That's not difficult, honestly. It's the Fourth Reich. Fuck, yeah, basically. Although Merkel might not be in power by the time it's brought about, so... does anyone know a good number for nationalist socialist parties?
I know the one in California.
With a penchant for despising the Jews.
Yeah, that's Antifa.
Imagine my shock. So yeah, the basic rules in place then will be to fall back onto the World Trade Organization rules, and I actually do support them. I think they're reasonable, and this is cemented here. Brexit supporters say they'd be happy with. I mean, what's the point of having World Trade? It's a globalist set of rules. It's there, and I'm okay with them. Maybe I'm a hypocrite for that, but I just like them. Okay. This then goes on to talk about the priorities, and quite frankly, it actually is absolute scaremongery dog shit. And you're welcome to pause if anyone does watch this afterwards. There are a number of articles that have come out since that have just been pure, oh no, we're gonna fucking die. I just don't. Let's just stop it, okay? Please. It's now embarrassing that you're still trying to scare the very people that voted leave. It's not going to work, because most of them are busy working, eating their dinner, and going to bed. That's literally their days. Merkin Merkel.
That's my fucking day.
It's not a great day. Okay, your turn.
That's what we live with. That's fine.
It's your turn with the articles. Are we moving on to Paul Manafort?
Yes.
Okay, hang on, I'll pull this up. Okay, so before we do this actually, can you please refresh people's memory as to who Paul Manafort is before we get to what is so important about today?
So Paul Manafort was a campaign chairman, or a former campaign chairman for then candidate Trump's 2016 election campaign.
Mm-hmm.
He was brought about on charges, I believe it was about 15 charges, that Judge Ellis, the one who presided over the case, thought was absolute horseshit, but the Mueller investigation led them to prosecute Paul Manafort for financial fraud and a couple other different charges. And we finally have a verdict.
Right, and I'll pull that
ago.
up. Give me a second. Go.
So Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign chairman, was convicted on Tuesday in his financial fraud trial, bringing a dramatic end to a politically charged case that riveted the Capitol. Yep, kind of. Not really.
So I saw Styx Hexenhammer did a video talking about, I think, Manafort, and the first thing he said was that it doesn't really affect Trump at all. It just doesn't.
Not this one.
No, the next
Not
one does. But we'll
really.
get to the next one soon. So what's
Paul
going to happen
Manafort's
to
thing.
Manafort now? Do you think?
Well, okay, so there have been questions asked of Trump if he would pardon Manafort, and I don't know if he would because he's been getting enough slack for getting rid of FBI directors in the same kind of accusation related to obstruction of justice.
Yeah.
So I'm maybe thinking he won't do that.
Okay.
Um, but I know that in a Fox and Friends interview, he did implicate that if they're going to do this to Manafort, they need to do the same to Podesta, whom, if you watched the last stream that we did last week, I mentioned him as basically the Hillary Clinton side of the of Paul Manafort. So.
Okay.
So let's go down to this article. The verdict was a victory for the special counsel Robert S. Mueller III, whose prosecutors introduced extensive evidence that Mr. Mann.
The Ethernet decided to just stop playing ball.
Same.
Sorry about that, people. Carry on.
Recap TLDR.
And yeah, as it's quite rightly pointed out by Dibula, we're looking for Russian collusion here. We'll get to that in a moment with the next piece, but this Manafort stuff, it almost sounds it sounds like a waste on Mueller's part. Yes, rightly, with what this guy's been charged for and found guilty of, fine, put him in prison. But the way it's been portrayed, I had assumed this would be some kind of massive blow to Trump. It's not. It's some dickhead who did something he should not have done, and he did it, so he's going to go to prison for it. That's
arguably they're actually digging their own grave by trying to indict Manafort, or in this case, find him guilty, because if it is true, and it is true that John Podesta did almost the same for Hillary Clinton, then by not prosecuting Podesta, you are proving to everyone who is paying attention, which is pretty much the entire American people at this point, that
has Mueller said that he's going to do this with Podesta, or is it going to be a case of, oh, this isn't in the public's interest?
He was already pardoned.
Imagine my shock.
Pardoned by the investigators, or not by Trump.
Well, that's a load of bollocks. What we're going to do, then, we're going to go to the next person, which is Michael D. Cohen.
Yes.
Now, I don't remember who this was, but this is a lovely picture of him. Fuck me, he looks like a twat.
Michael Cohen was Trump's former lawyer, and the one who was informed, according to his testimony at his guilty plea, as opposed to Manafort, who went to trial. Cohen admitted.
Right, yeah, he pled guilty, didn't he?
All 8 counts.
He did plead guilty, so it wasn't going to surprise me that he'd be found guilty.
One of which was bank fraud, 5 of which was a taxi company related charge, and then 2 were campaign finance crimes.
So the first line of this article mentions the hush money payment, I assume, to Stormy Daniels, but I don't think that matters in the slightest, because I don't think it actually came from the campaign finance, because didn't Trump finance this himself?
Correct, and that is the argument that the FEC spokesperson is also making.
Therefore, he didn't violate campaign finance law because he did it. It's all his money. It's no one else's. I'm sorry. How is this an article then?
Because it means that Trump lied several times, and that is trying to shoot down his credibility with the American people.
It doesn't work.
To no avail.
It really doesn't.
Oh, of course not.
I'm sorry. I'm English, and I just don't get it. It's. Did Cohen do anything illegal? Because it's mentioned here. There's a quote here. The fact Cohen did something illegal doesn't mean Trump did anything illegal. Trump didn't mean Trump did. Yeah, Trump didn't do anything illegal. So this
It
entire
doesn't
thing is
imply that Trump was, well, okay. It implies that Trump may have contributed to a crime. However, it does not implicate him directly into a crime. Cohen did do things that were wrong. That was the first 6 charges. But because he pled no contest and pled guilty to all 8 charges, there is no actual fact finding required to decide whether or not campaign finance law was in fact violated. The charges were brought up and he didn't want to fight it.
right.
It's likely that the case comes to be that they gave him a plea deal. The crimes that he actually committed added up to about 55 years worth in prison.
Oh, was that mentioned in the article?
No, maybe. Let me see.
So I'm scrolling.
I don't think it was specific.
I don't see anything mentioned. It's quite a long article. Fuck me. It is a
Yes, it
long
is.
article.
Don't worry, we won't go through it all.
Oh, we're not.
I'm basically recapping. I'm recapping for everybody.
Okay.
But basically, the campaign finance laws that he violated were a total of 7 years, and the rest, I think, it was 58 years on the other counts. He pled guilty. That means that he only has to do 5 to 7 years worth in prison.
Okay.
That is likely why he pled guilty to all 8 counts, and why he says in his final testimony that specifically he was told to pay the hush money directly from Trump.
This does not, again, by the way, this, just to further prove a point, doesn't prove any need or reason to impeach Trump. It doesn't prove any kind of Russian collusion, which is supposedly the whole bloody thing. It doesn't prove anything other than a supposed violation of campaign finance law, but unless you're going to start telling me personal banking accounts somehow qualify as campaign finance, it makes no sense.
They do not. And the argument comes in because Cohen paid Stormy Daniels out of his own wallet, and also the money to the stripper. I forget her name.
It was mentioned a bit further down.
McDougal.
Yeah, it was mentioned further down in the article. Here we go, Karen McDougal.
Yeah, so that's another
150 grand to her to form a Playboy playmate, and 130,000, which I assume was the hush money to Stormy Daniels.
Correct. Then, so Cohen pays that out of his own pocket. He gets elected, and then Trump ends up reimbursing him, not out of the campaign money, but out of the Trump company.
He's allowed to do that. He can do whatever he wants with it. It's his company.
Now, well, yes, but if they claim that this is a campaign donation,
right,
then the most that slap the Trump company with is a fine for too high of a contribution per se.
Yeah.
Which is about all you'll get. Which, by the way, happens quite often actually in American elections. A lot of people will pay money they're not allowed to per se. It happened with Barack Obama. It happened with Trump in his own sense. I think it was 11,000 donations or so went over the allotted amount, but Obama had a higher fine for his.
Right.
But the point is that Cohen did all these things wrong. Manafort, on the charges that he was accused of, he did all these things wrong. Yes. Most of them are so far beyond the pale when it comes to Donald Trump that it's almost irrelevant.
Can I just highlight? I've highlighted a quote. Proving that Trump knew at the time that the payouts were intended to influence the presidential race and that he knew they were illegal could be much harder to prove. I'm sorry. How the fuck is hush money to a stripper and a woman he was fucking? I'm sorry. How does this intend to influence the presidential race? Am I missing something here? It really doesn't.
The implication is that would cause bad press, but that wasn't what he. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit.
No. absolute nonsense. Oh, what a load of trash. And by the way, I've been
And that's
scrolling
why
through
the
this
next
quietly.
comment,
Oh, the next one, perhaps such records exist, or maybe Cohen is prepared to say he told. Perhaps. Perhaps. Do you know what perhaps is? Perhaps is an assumption. Do you know what an assumption is? It's a fucked up choice.
not admissible in court.
It at best is an assertion. Assertions are nothing. They are dismissed. That's no better than anecdotal evidence. It doesn't prove shit.
And yes, Twiggy, Trump is a player.
Yeah. Look at some of the women he's banged. Fucking hell.
Well, I mean, he used to be the owner of the AFL, the American Football League, as a contest to the NFL.
I didn't know.
It didn't go great, but
Imagine my shock.
he owned that at one point too.
He's got a bit of money, isn't he?
Oh, he's very powerful.
I just don't see. This is absolute to me. Okay, yeah, fine. You've gotten some convictions for a bunch of twerps, perhaps, but honestly, the whole point was to go after Trump. You're just trying to discredit people around him. That's all you're doing, and that doesn't, in the grand scale of things, make Trump look any weaker in the process. It makes you look rubbish because you've essentially tried to character assassinate your way to the top without actually doing the one thing you said you'd do, and that was prove some kind of Russian collusion. And I know that Jack Dorsey of Twitter is going to be sat with the Senate with some Senate committee discussing the any Twitter Russian bot crap, and he might still yet get subpoenaed by Congress for his own blatant bias censoring conservatives on his platform. And I know this because I did a video on it. That's the only reason I know this shit. It's just a Senate subcommittee. It's just so stupid.
You know what the funniest thing about that whole Russian bot thing is that most any proxy that you put your fucking IP through will put you in Russia.
Really?
One of the most popular, UltraSurf, will automatically put you into Russia.
I need to get a VPN at some point, and I was going to try and be really obscure with where I was supposedly set. But I'm too
Venezuela,
lazy.
no one will believe you.
Oh my god, that'd be awesome.
Yes, dude.
I could just put it down and say I'm in Iowa or something, even though I don't like warm places. I don't know.
All right.
Should we move on to the final thing that we have?
Yes.
See, okay, so for this, you're going to have to paint a picture before we even start it, because I don't know anything about this.
Okay, so pull up the Fox one first.
Fox article first. Okay, give me a second. While I do that, address the chat. Okay. Oh, fucking right.
Huh.
What?
See, Dibula, you know more about sports than I. I'm a gamer. I don't do sports ball, but I will yield to your expertise on this.
It's not surprising. He's just a massive incel.
Oh,
okay.
He's very intelligent.
Farm that hired Christian Rivera, Molly Tibbetts' suspected killer, did not use E-Verify system. Officials say what? Okay, so a few questions. Who is Molly Tibbetts? Who is Christian Rivera, and what is an E-Verify system?
So, Molly Tibbetts was a Iowa college student.
She's cute.
Who, yes, very sad actually. She had gone missing sometime in July, and it led on this major manhunt for her.
Yeah.
And it went to this pig farmer 3 times, to hundreds of eyewitness accounts, to finally they were able to get to some guy who had security cameras up on his door, and they were able to look at his security camera footage and find Molly running with this guy, Christian Rivera, and his car. So they didn't actually see what happened, but they found him, and he was immediately compliant with the police. And he basically said, and this is going to throw you for a loop real quick, that he saw her. He started to approach her, She was out jogging this day. He was jogging behind her, and as she pulled out her phone, turned around and said, "Leave me alone, or I will call the police." He says his memory blanks. His memory blanks, and when he comes to, he has headphones in his lap, and he suddenly realizes that Molly Tibbets's body is in the trunk of his car. So he then drags the body to a nearby cornfield and hides it under corn stalks.
It's interesting to note, underneath this, it has, on Fox and Friends, the former ICE acting director, ICE, that sounds familiar, calls on Democrats to stop playing politics and fix the immigration system after an illegal immigrant is accused of killing the Iowa college student. Clearly, this illegal immigrant should have just gone to California, where he would have been embraced with open arms and this poor innocent girl would still be alive.
That's the saddest part.
But let's blame ICE for this, because ICE is the real problem.
Exactly. And the E-Verify system was apparently the system in which the GOP-owned farm, that's the one kicker that I think CNN will try to harp on, is that a GOP-owned farm hired this man and supposedly used an E-Verify system to basically get his social security number cross-referenced with his country of origin. But no, that's not what happened. In fact, the farm owners cannot actually produce the papers that says he is a legal worker in the United States.
I notice here, here it says farm that killed did not use E-Verify system, but at the top of the article, in the link itself, which is in the description, it says Molly Tibbetts murder suspect illegal immigrant Christian Rivera allegedly passed E-Verify system. That's the original article title. Whereas the actual article title says did not use E-Verify system. You can check this in the description because this article is linked there now. It will say something completely different.
In due time.
Yeah. It's pretty... Oh, shit. Sorry. Thank you, Twiggy Wales, for the £10. It's very kind of you. One step closer to tentacle gloves. I've waited 3 years for them. 3 years. Not even a joke. We'll get to that after.
Oh, Bear's here too. Hey, Bear.
Hello, sexy. We're in the stream in the chat on my server if you wish to join us for a few minutes.
But basically, the whole thing with this was that he was an illegal immigrant who is now charged with first-degree murder, as he very well should.
Of course.
And a lot of people are saying that this should not have happened. If we had had the stricter immigration policy, this would never have happened.
Yeah, I don't know how I don't know much about your immigration policy. I know that there have been a lot of criticisms about certain policies that have existed. Certainly with...
Hello, Bear.
Oh, has he joined us?
Yes,
hello.
Yes.
I'm not coming through too loud, am I?
No, you're perfectly fine. What's up?
Oh, I was saying hello in the chat and you said, oh, you can pop in for a minute if you like.
We're going to finish in 5-10 minutes anyway, so it's great.
Okay. How are we? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. We're just covering news as we do.
Okay. What are you talking about?
Molly Rivera and the illegal immigrant who killed her.
Before that, we were talking about Trump and Brexit, because No Deal Brexit was all over Twitter today.
Of course it was.
Oh, it was scaremongery like a mother. Honestly, it was the twit. I forgot to mention this actually. No Deal Brexit as a hashtag with people tweeting about it was the best source of scaremongery nonsense I'd ever seen in my life.
Was this worse than a couple of weeks ago when the Women's Party, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's a thing.
Oh, is that the thing with Sandy Togsvig?
Pass. But the were complaining that Brexit...
Oh, you cut out.
Gently, ironically, the next day there was a sudden threat to sandwiches.
Triggered.
And I thought we'd reached peak. scaremongering, but
It was. The articles were like sensationalist nonsense.
All of them are.
Well, it's no different really with this crap as well, because this isn't the only article we have. Even though there's a few, you've got one more article related to this. Oh, an advert over the top.
Yeah.
Of it.
If you want to switch over to that, we can.
We can go I've done it, so go for it.
So, this whole thing basically blew up, and MSNBC decided that they would stop covering Molly Tibbetts as this poor girl who had gone missing, and now a professor decided to call her just some girl in Iowa that Fox News is talking about. And P.S. This is about toxic masculinity, not immigration.
Maybe it is in Mexican culture toxic masculinity that's to blame for these people murdering people for no good reason whatsoever. But honestly, that's not.
Stuart,
that's
he
not
was
the story.
a illegal immigrant because they cannot produce his papers at this time.
Illegal immigration catapulted Donald Trump to the top of the GOP field in 2016. Well, that's because nobody had the balls to say it. Everyone else is like, welcome you with open arms. You can put your knife away, though. We'll give you a hug. Let me give you a hug. Just stop stabbing me, please. And raping. Because that's a bit criminal.
If you could stop stabbing me with your pork sword, sir, that would be delightful.
Pork sword? Fucking hell. Oh dear, oh dear.
Oh wait, that's actually offensive, isn't it?
That's haram, man.
It is.
Here, scroll down to like the middle of the article where the tweets are at.
Oh yeah, here we go. Sally Cohn on Fox News website, Manafort conviction, Cohen plea. #1 stories about an undocumented immigrant who is suspect for murder of a white girl. Oh Sally. It's because the Manafort conviction.
That's a CNN fucking reporter too.
So I just want to be clear here. The murder is quite interesting. I wouldn't say it as far as #1. Maybe I don't know what the news is like in your country, so I don't know if it's worthy of #1. The Manafort and Cohen things are interesting, but so's diarrhea, and I don't see that on the list.
Well, the reason this was a #1 story was because everyone, and I mean every news outlet, was talking about it as if we all needed to, keep our eyes out in case maybe they were moving her across state lines and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was a very large story for a while until just now, and nobody wants to talk about it anymore.
Well, you got here a tweet. Professor Dr. C.M. Greer dismissively refers to a girl in Iowa as being unimportant to discuss, apparently because she's a distraction from the narrative. Well, that girl has a name, she's a fellow American, and she was murdered. If this man's proven guilty, you know damn well not a single one of these people would actually say anything like, oops. They're not going to do that. They're going to ignore it because the narrative, it's very important.
Right now, what I've been seeing a lot of on Facebook and Twitter has been, this wasn't about immigration. This was about a woman who was followed by a man who didn't want to hear the word no, and that is why she is dead. I'm like, no, this guy did wrong things to get into the country, and he continued to do wrong things.
That's just the thing. If someone's willing to go to, I can get why some would want to leave their country. I get it. But if someone's willing to go, continue to break laws, do you still want them in your country? I would, in the instance of wanting them to serve time, but I still want them to be in the lowest possible dungeon, where we only have to pay like 7p a day to feed them, and they serve life on a fucking chain gang.
Oh, just his fucking excuse makes me want the lowest
blackout
form
thing?
of him. Oh, blackout! I don't remember anything. Oh,
here we go. Look, you got here. The article sort of mentions here. CNN's Sally Cohn also took time to show the world how out of touch she is, blasting Fox for having the temerity to report on a news story. It depends on what the news of the day was, I guess. What's considered important is subjective. She too denigrated and marginalized Molly Tibbetts and her family, pretty much saying that some white girl in Iowa allegedly murdered by an illegal alien, fact check, she was, is not of national concern. Actually, do we have an update on this yet as to whether or not he was found, whether or not
he's been taken in by ICE, so
okay. And then it just carries on to point out how the liberal position is clear. Screw American citizens, screw the Americans who are murdered by illegals, screw their families, and screw you if you disagree. That is the petty, childish mentality that we've grown accustomed to. What do you think there?
My apologies, I wasn't listening. I was just observing some drama on Twitter.
Oh, tell me.
Somebody who has somebody's ticked off Satsu, and Satsu has actually got angry, which I don't think I've ever seen before. And he's called them an intellectual coward regarding a tweet over Sean King or something. I don't know.
Oh, the white boy?
Yeah, wide boy.
Right. I'll have to look at that after this stream and after I finish recording the final bits to a video.
So what was the question regarding this?
It's just the liberals' perception on what's considered, how to treat people who are murdered by illegal people. It's generally a case of you're a bad person for reporting on something because you might hurt the feels of the illegal, who's undocumented, actually. No, they're illegal.
Well, I remember for years and years, for quite some time before I even started doing this, people complaining about our media reporting on crimes committed by migrants or non-white people, and the way they would go about doing it. And now that it's kind of sort of swung the other way, they're pussyfooting around it. They don't want to say that it's a black person. They don't want to say it's a Muslim. They don't want to say, oh, this person entered the country illegally, or is a migrant or anything like that. They want to keep that information stumm.
Yeah, it's
because racism.
Actually, that's a point.
Sometimes
it brings up something I saw earlier that I might make a video on. Because Jeremy Corbyn suggested he would raise funds through taxing large corporations, even though Labour never did it when they were in charge, like Amazon, YouTube, and all those other places, well, Google and Facebook, to pay for better journalism, essentially. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but what are your parameters for this? I just
wait, but what?
Yeah,
better journalism.
Hang on a second. I'll pull up the. I can't.
I assume he's talking about the BBC.
I pulled it up. I put it in my. Oh yeah, tech tax fund for journalism. It says a windfall tax will be levied on them, on the tax giants, to pay for public interest journalism. And that's
some shit.
That doesn't sound shady.
It's in my recommended. By all means, look at it. It's a BBC article, so naturally it's not biased. It's absolutely. I might make a video on it for Sunday if I don't finish what I've been trying to finish.
Please call the video Jeremy Corbyn's Ministry of Truth.
Someone needs to write that down for me, or I'll forget.
I got you.
Thanks, fam. Thanks.
That sounds dodgy as fuck.
It does. That's exactly what I thought when I saw it, and I was like, you know what? If I hadn't woken up this morning and recorded what I had recorded, and I'd seen that first, it would have been that today. But yeah, it's brilliant.
But we have a hard enough time trying to get any tax out of the big tech giants as it is anyway. Because they all just piss off to the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, they all say, we're not based here, there, we're not, we'll just pull out of your country. Okay, fuck off then. Just go away. If you don't want to pay your taxes here, you should not be allowed the privilege to operate here. Oh, but that's not free market capitalism. Shut the fuck up. And taxation isn't theft, and I love roads. Fuck you.
I feel like those comments may have annoyed you.
Taxation is theft, everyone.
I suppose it's hard. It's hard for you to think of a sexual rebuttal.
It's very hard to get kinky with it, I guess. What's my safety word? Roads.
Roads. Very, very, very hard.
Oh no! My safety word is pothole.
They call them ground holes now because that's not gender inclusive.
Oh, you're quite right. I mean, there might be some wild life living in there, like I don't know, Antifa spawn. Fuck it. All right.
Wouldn't it be gravity challenged hole?
Well,
my apologies.
Well, now that's a good point. It might just be called a baby sinkhole.
Yes.
A baby sinkhole.
No, it's not a baby. It's just a fetus.
We should definitely abort them then by filling them in. Fuck's sake. Okay, I think we're done here. Fuck it. Do you want to shill anything before I finish this, you two?
Yeah. Yesterday we did a stream on my channel for Food for Thought. Actually, both Omegon and Irate Bear joined me for that one. So if you guys want to go check that out, Bear, you?
Well, I have recorded my first 7 Days to Die Machinima episode that's currently rendering. It's basically my pilot episode in which I play a schizophrenic, multiple personality disorder.
Well, now you have my attention.
Lunatic who's currently running through the zombie apocalypse, and it's kind of the first episode, so I can get feedback and kind of work from there. But that'll be up in a little while.
That sounds fantastic. I look forward to it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that shit.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
thank you both for joining me. Do you
Hey,
want to
you're
say
very
one
much
last
welcome.
word before I just click stop streaming? Do you want to say that final word you loved saying?